The Days and Nights of Sophia Petrillo is the second episode of the fourth season of The Golden Girls. This is directed by Terry Hughes, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. It's definitely a really good episode. There are some really moving moments. I'd say half of it is quite slow, but that's kind of the point, and I will explain what I mean by that in a moment. But even when it's quite slow, there are still some funny moments as well. But certainly for me, the scenes that were the most interesting were, perhaps not surprisingly, the scenes focusing on Sophia. It starts off with everybody in the kitchen, and Sophia is going out to buy a nectarine in the rain, and she kind of suggests that that's basically all she has in her days. Get up, go get a nectarine, come back home. It's her one outing most of the days. And the girls spend the episode, we cut back and forth between Sophia and Blanche, Dorothy and Rose. And the girls spend a lot of the time talking about how they wished Sophia had something else in her life, maybe a hobby or another activity, but she just didn't seem to have the drive to get that activity in her life. But we, the viewers, see something different. And I don't have too much else to say about what's happening in the kitchen, but basically whenever we cut to the kitchen, they're just sitting around, eating food, talking. Not a bad way to spend a day, but compared to what Sophia's doing, they're the ones who are kind of wasting the day away. Sophia is having a really full, busy, productive day, and it's funny, but it's really moving as well and really thought-provoking, because it starts off with her helping somebody get a refund at the market, and then she's conducting these women playing Oh When the Saints Come Marching In on various instruments to raise money for the clinic, which I loved. Very lively scene, really thoroughly enjoyed that. We then cut back to the kitchen a little more. Rose is telling a St. Olaf story. I did like this in particular. The story itself wasn't that interesting, but kind of mid-sentence, the audio and the picture faded out and we focused on Sophia. And then when we next cut back to the kitchen, it fades in. Rose is still telling the same story. I liked that. I thought that was very well done. And when we cut back to Sophia, she's actually in a hospital volunteering. And she ends up talking with this boy who she sees every day or frequently, and he's really sweet. And we learn, I think the second time we cut back to the hospital, that actually his condition is terminal, which is obviously not what anybody wants to hear. And Sophia tells him that he still needs to eat his nectarine to keep his strength up and to keep his health, because you never know when they might find the cure. And they both conclude that if nothing else, they have hope and a nectarine, which I just thought was so sweet and really makes her journey, even if all she did was go to the market, get a nectarine and give it to this boy, that in itself would have been so moving. But the fact that things along the way, having a busy, productive day, helping other people, everything she did was for somebody else, helping somebody get a refund on their at the market, raising money for the clinic with the performance of When the Saints Come Marching In, volunteering at the hospital. And then obviously when we cut back to the girls saying they wish Sophia had a more fulfilling day, and they're sitting around cooking, eating pizza and watching Jeopardy, which again, not a bad way to spend a day, but I thought the contrast there was beautifully done. It definitely got quite emotional. And I loved when Sophia came home and asked if they were ready for bed already, but we, the viewer, know that actually Rose, Blanche and Dorothy never really got ready for the day to begin with. So I thought this was a really moving episode. The scenes in the kitchen definitely were a little slow, but again, that's kind of highlighting the fact that Sophia has a really busy, active, productive day, and the girls are the ones who are having a lazy day. One could argue wasting the day away, but is time spent in good company that much of a waste? Maybe not. Either way, I thought this was a really moving episode. Getting a little emotional, actually. I wasn't expecting the scene with the boy in the hospital to quite go where it did. It was definitely very powerful, and ultimately The Days and Nights of Sophia Petrillo was a really great episode of The Golden Girls.